like the work that we got done today. We'll tee up for tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a big day. Short yardage, goal line. You know the competition will be hot. We'll be right back at it.
You are looking live at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024. This is Sunday, August the 4th, day 12 on campus and day 10 on the field. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Training Camp Live, brought to you by FedEx. I'm Mike Pursuta, joined by Max Starks. And, Max, we just heard Mike Tomlin say two of my favorite words at this time of the year, goal line.
Yes.
Pads are back on today. The pads are going to be put to use today.
Yeah, the guys got a nice little reprieve. They enjoyed yesterday. It was a little bit cooler climate, had a little bit of rain misting out there, a little lightning delay that really didn't delay anything. But now, sun's out, fun's out, so now it's going to heat up a little bit outside. Goal line short yardage live, 7 shots at each. It's going to be fun.
When he says goal line, are you anticipating 7 runs, 7 lots of tight ends, maybe the fullback, or is Arthur Smith going to get cued a couple times to do a little play action bootleg and actually throw the ball?
I feel like there's going to be a couple of throws in there, but I feel like the main image that's going to be hammered home, physicality, whether it's a play action, coming off the ball, firing off, making it seem like run. But I definitely see a lot of utilization of 2 and 3 tight ends, maybe even a fullback in there, mix it up a little bit. But I expect big personnel when you hear goal line. I do not expect any 11 3-wide receiver sets or anything fancy where they spread it out and go 5 wides. I expect them to be big, beefy, and want to hammer the ball home.
Let's throw it down to the playing surface here at St. Vincent College now and check in with our colleague, Missy Matthews, who's going to tee up practice for us today. Missy, how you doing today?
Guys, good. I don't have an umbrella. It's not running. It's the football weather that Mike Tomlin likes, and he's actually in all black today. I'm not going to ask him about it, but I do feel like I need to report that. Maybe that's going to, make the energy a little high. As you said, they weren't in pads yesterday. They are in pads today, and it's family day. Even Sean Sweezum, former kicker, he's here hanging out with Boz and that whole crew. A lot of alumni, we see them down here all the time. And Max, one of your former teammates, Ryan Clark, reminded me with something he posted on Twitter last week about the practice where Antonio Brown might have said something to Dick LeBeau. The defense didn't take that very well, and it got a little crazy. That was on Family Day, and I think when you have the short yardage stuff, as you mentioned, Mike, that everybody wants to see, sometimes the tempers can flare, and who knows what we'll see. We saw the physicality on Friday night and the fact they went padless yesterday, as Coach Tomlin said at the beginning of the show, letting guys kind of regroup from that. So will be interesting to see how it works, and also there's the return of the lantern flies. Sorry, I wasn't going to let that sit on me.
Yeah, no way. There's a lot out there. Missy, I do remember that, what you're talking about, the Family Day, the infamous moment where we had a little bit of emotional discussions and physical representations of that. But
you mean Antonio Brown wasn't just asking Dick LeBeau about his family?
No,
nope.
He was not. No, not in that situation. Missy, when we think about the middle of most of these scrums that have happened, there's been one main antagonist, one main villain in this, as we'll call it, or a main actor in this, and that would be a Landon Roberts. So It'll be easy to recognize if things happen. Usually 50 in the sleeve are not quite far behind. But Missy, just what's the mood and attitude? Do you feel an intensity already picking up, knowing that they have pads on out here?
Well, I think the fact that they knew the short yardage was coming, when we were walking back from the cafeteria, we looked down at the field, and Nate Herbig was down here. It was just after 1 o'clock, and we're all looking at our watches like, wait, are we late? Did practice change? When I was coming down here to do this hit, I was with offensive line coach Pat Meyer, and I said, hey, what was your guy doing down there so early? He's like, you know what? I saw him down there. Maybe he's just getting the juices ready to go, getting pumped up for what's to come in this practice. So I said, all right, I'm going to use that. Thanks so much. But maybe that's it. And you can tell it's just that little bit of energy. I think yesterday it was the weather coming off of a night practice that maybe led to that, and the fact there were no pads. But I think you guys know when you're at this point of camp, when the pads go back on after they weren't on, there's a day off tomorrow. All of your family members are right behind you back there. Things get a little crazy sometimes.
Missy, have you been able to take any attendance to any degree? I know some guys have been in and out of the lineup of late.
Yeah, Russ Wilson looks like he's going to be doing the exact same thing, just based off the different things the quarterbacks have done. It seemed to be the same order. Who knows when that will change? And then also Patrick Queen, I haven't been able to spot him just yet. That doesn't mean he's not out here. The defense is kind of split up on field 2 in several different positions, but he's one that I want to see what he's doing or not doing today.
Great stuff, Missy. I know you've got your sunblock being the prepared for any and all situations, sideline reporting star that you are.
Thanks, guys.
That was Missy Matthews getting us ready for what should be, Max, an exciting practice. And I know we're talking about practice, but there are a few days that stand out, and goal line to me has always been one of them.
Yeah, practice is it can be monotonous. It can be daunting. It can be boring at times. But when you're out here and you get those moments of liveness, you got to relish those, because those are the game prep situations. Like, you won't get to rep this again until you're at Acrisure on Friday night taking on the Houston Texans. So this is a very important step, especially for the young guys and the new guys that are new to the organization. This is your warm-up. This is your feel-good before you go into it. So you want to leave a nice rosy disposition for yourself, or at least something to work on and put it on film so that you can go back to the woodshed, look at it. You got the day off tomorrow, and then you only got 2 days, really, of real practice. Then you'll have a walkthrough type of day on Thursday, and then it's game day. So these are one of the last few opportunities you get to go full blast, all the way to the whistle, finish to the ground type of plays. So take advantage, especially if you're a defender or you're a defensive lineman. This is a big moment for you. Offensive lineman as well. We get to finish, put a little jelly on our work. So you want to see all of that kind of coming together today. Yeah,
it's feels like it's achieving another level here. They're starting to take the next step, and there are several in the preseason process. But before we dig a little bit more into today, I wanted to go back to Friday Night Lights, because yesterday when we were on, we had some goofy things going on with the lightning and the weather, and we had kind of an abbreviated show. But one of the things that really got my attention, and we've continued to see it out here on the practice field, but seeing it in a stadium with the lights on, albeit Latrobe Memorial Stadium with the lights on, and not Acrisure, but a stadium nonetheless. They finished up with red zone on that practice Friday night, and there was a play from the 7-yard line. They had 3 tight ends in the huddle, and then they came out, set the formation, and then they shifted to an empty set, the 5 wides look.
Yeah.
Even with 3 tight ends. Now, they ended up throwing a touchdown pass. Justin Fields threw a touchdown pass to Van Jefferson, who was the 1 wide receiver. The penalty flags flew because Pat Freiermuth had not gotten set yet, and it was more than one guy in motion.
Yeah.
Justin Fields snapped the ball too early. But that mistake aside, Max, this is what has been so fascinating to me about the 3 tight ends thing. You don't have to run out of it. You can throw out of it. You can throw to them out of it. And if the defense doesn't know whether you're going to run or pass, advantage offense, right?
No, it is. This is actually something Wolf and I talked about earlier on our show, funny enough. We were talking about that, when you get to the goal line, when you get to short yards, when you get into the low red zone, which is that 10 and in to the goal line area, you can deploy a lot of fronts out of one personnel group. And you can really get a defense to declare their intentions. When you spread them out early, guys have to match up, whether it's zone or whether it's man coverage. You have to have a guy for an area. And when you see 3 pass catcher body types, I'll put it like that, you have to respect the trip side, because that's the strength of the formation. And then they can kind of accordion in and compress, and you can get 3 guys on the line of scrimmage, and you might decide, hey, maybe this is a nickel because I see it lined up as what we would call 11 or 3 wide receiver type of look. Or we have to now run a big personnel. Well, then you can stay outside because now you've got a mismatch. A linebacker is somewhere. A safety is probably mismatched with a Darnell Washington or a Connor Hayward. And then you're leaving a corner on Pat Freiermuth. Like, there's so many different things you can deploy. And it's been fun just to see kind of, behind the lab, so to speak, here, because you go on the field and you run through practice reps in a live audience fashion, and you get to see what sticks, what works, what doesn't work. And right now we've seen a lot more success when they've done it, regardless if it's compressed or regardless or if they're spread out wide.
Yeah, they did that also on the 7th rep of 7 shots on Friday night. It was kind of the same deal, closer to the goal line on the 2-yard line, not the 7. But they had 3 tight ends, Najee Harris and George Pickens as the quote-unquote skill position package. And they didn't spread it, but Harris was wide out. Then he motioned back into the backfield. They wound up throwing a fade to George Pickens. Joey Porter Jr. was called for pass interference, so Mike Tomlin called it a touchdown. But it occurs to me as we're watching this, Max, that Arthur Smith is into using a lot of different personnel groups, number one, and he is interested in doing a lot of different things with the same personnel group, number two. And I think he's doing that for a reason. I think not only is it to keep the defense guessing, but I think he is, let's just say he's motivated to find matchups. And that might be a change in the offensive coordinator's office.
Yeah, philosophies are definitely very different between last year and this year, as we saw. But I think you're right. It's an opportunity that, if you can establish this early, now guess what? You can run a more hurry-up style offense, and you can throw the defense off. If you get that mismatch and you're fine with running that same personnel grouping but changing the formation, the defense can never be right. And I think that's one of the cool things or crazy things about it is that if you can successfully create packages, offensive coordinators are all about packages and keeping the same group in so you can stay anonymous, mixing things up. And that's one of the things Arthur Smith has said in his press conferences, and we've seen it carried out in actuality down on the football field, the commitment to having multiple tight ends and the commitment to creating different formations with the same personnel groups to where we get into our no-huddle packages and all those more finite things and nuanced things within an offensive system. Now you can have one that says, hey, this is a 13-go package. We can go a whole series and run all these different things out of 13, or maybe it's a 12 package. Maybe it's a 22 package. Just as much you see like no-huddle situations usually being sub or what we call 3 wide receiver sets. Now you can do the same thing but have big personnel. So I really like this versatility. And like you said, there's no harm, no foul out here. You're trying new things to see if they work and if they gel with the personnel grouping.
We've spent a lot of time talking about tight ends since we started doing these shows,
Yeah.
with good reason. I think 3 are established, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, Connor Hayward. But Michael Pruitt, number 81, is showing me at least there's a place for him too on this team.
Yeah, he has a very unique skill set. Like you look at the body type, and it's still very different from the others. I would say he has a longer torso, where you're thinking about all the different body types that are out there. Connor Hayward, a.k.a. Meatball Express. Darnell Washington, Mount Washington. Wolf has all these great phrases for all of them. And Pat Freiermuth looks like a traditional tight end. But Michael Pruitt kind of has an H-back, fullback, but yet hands of a tight end type. So similar to Connor Hayward, but a bigger version of it. And he's been really good at blocking at the point of attack and also being able to lead block in some situations where you take him off the ball and move him in motion as an H-back, taking off the edge of a defense. So he's been a really good addition. I've been liking his rotation into this because he presents something even more different. So if you're
Plus, he's got history with Arthur Smith.
Yeah, he's played in Arthur Smith's system for a number of years. And when you're thinking about if we're going to go to a lot of 13 personnel sets, well, you got to have one extra guy because you never know when a guy is going to come out. Terrell Austin is famous for saying, man, if I need three cornerbacks for the wide receivers on the field, that means I need 4. Because you never know when an injury is going to happen. You need a capable, adaptable guy who can go in and fill that responsibility. And right now, you're right. I think the clubhouse leader has been Michael Pruitt for that spot over the other choices.
He looks like a fit. I keep coming back to that in my head. Like I don't want to say he's got the greatest hands or he's the greatest blocker or he's the most fluid mover, but he just looks the
all
part.
Around.
Really looks the part.
Yeah, he has an all-around kind of feel for that tight end position and what Arthur Smith wants out of a tight end.
Anything else you wanted to get to from Friday Night Lights that we were unable to yesterday?
Well, I just want to
because I know you were fired up in the car coming back.
Oh yeah, it was a great offensive kind of shellacking of the defense, which as an offensive guy,
you okay with that?
I was very happy with that, and it was great to see Ryan Shazier, Red Rover, his way on over since he's been working with running backs. He's taken on the offensive persona. He took personal with the backs on backers period and really given the defensive guys a good earful. But one of the things I enjoyed was on the defensive line, like watching DeMarvin Leal. This is a guy. We watched him. He had a lot of potential. His rookie year, he comes in. TJ gets injured. He has to play a prominent role. He's either hand in the dirt in the 3-point, standing up in a 2-point stance on the edge. and playing kind of this Levon Kirkland elephant in type of position. And then last year kind of got set back.
I love that name for a position, by the way.
Yeah, elephant
end.
Yeah.
If I was a defensive lineman, I would aspire to be an elephant end.
It's like, listen, Coach, I just give me the EE. Just call me EE, Coach.
They don't mess up their assignments because they never forget.
Yeah, they never forget. Elephants never forget. So, when I look at it, last year was kind of a little bit of – had some nagging injuries last year with DeMarvin Leal. We were wondering what was wrong with him. Healthy scratch, at the end of the season. But what I see when he came into camp, he looks physically imposing, great shape. And then yesterday, because of the injuries that have happened at the outside linebacker position, T.J. Watt also getting a vet day yesterday. He had to play a lot of outside backer in the sub packages. He was a 4-3 style defensive end or 4-2 nickel defensive end. And so you saw a lot more of him. So I got to watch him, and he's disruptive. He likes to get in the backfield. He likes to mess up the edges of offense when you're trying to run zones or any type of counters. He's been really good and very adept. And like I said, kept himself in great shape so far. So as long as health is not a limiting factor, I really like the contribution that he can make to this defense and really get to that six-man rotation that Carl Dunbar likes. Another one that I really liked.
But before you jump ahead, I just want to pile on Leal a little bit.
Okay.
Seventh rep of 7 shots. He had what would have been a sack.
Yes.
Kyle Allen ended up running the ball into the end zone anyway, but I was impressed by that. And then later on during team run, LaMichael Pirine got about 40 yards down the field because they weren't tackling. And who was chasing him but number 98?
Yeah.
And Mike Tomlin noticed that, and he yelled, way to finish, 98, way to finish, Leal. The kind of positive encouragement you want to hear from a guy who last year was not he was Chateau Pooch, right? I mean, he was in the doghouse.
Yeah, he was out of the graces. The
but he accepted it. He listened when they told him. They said, you're not stopping the run well enough. You're not consistent enough. He accepted it. He addressed it. Looks like the guy he looked like his rookie year.
Yeah.
This summer in terms of the impact he might have as a compliment up front.
Yeah, and I mean he took that to heart. Like you said, he went to the gym, worked on his skills. I think got really healthy. I think he had like a knee last year that was kind of bothering him, and really excelled so far in camp. Now take it over to Friday when you play the Houston Texans. Let's see it on tape.
Yes. On
live tape in front of essentially 31 other teams scouting your team and looking at it and see if you can jump off the page again. Another guy or two guys on the defensive line that really showed me something in Friday Night Lights. Hadn't really seen them pop before that. Was 72 and 74. So Pravon Willington and then also Logan Lee, the rookie. Both of them had really good one-on-one pass rushes. I saw a lot more in the concentrated situations. And Logan Lee, him and Mason McCormick might have went to the same school of thought, a touch of the nasty. Because both of them, when they went head-to-head, there was extra shoulder tugging and pushing. Logan Lee got one. Mason McCormick wanted another rep. Then there was a rubber match, and they really fought in. And Willington really showed me something where he was able to kind of turn the corner, switch hands. And he did this one pass rush move when he was playing the outside DN, kind of gave a half spin and really got the tackle jumping inside and was able to create a good pass lane from him. So I really like what I'm seeing from this defensive line because I know we paid so much attention to the offensive line and that D-line group being very well established up front. We know who the starting three are, so there's no big competition.
Are we including Keanu Benton in there as established?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. After what he did rookie year,
yeah.
That's what we know he's the starter.
Looks pretty good out here.
And he's building on that. And I think the nose tackle position in general, when you think of him and what Montravius Adams has been doing out here in camp, I think you kind of know where that is, but then you wonder where the edges of that defensive line or front seven establishes at either a defensive end in the 3-4 or the outside backers as far as depth. You're looking for who are the second line guys, and those are some of the guys that have been popping as of late.
Adams just finds a way to make himself useful and impactful, no matter the role.
Yeah, he just comes in and he disrupts the norm for whatever an offense is doing. When he inserts, you'll see him flash. You'll see him cause some kind of, type of kerfluffle, so to speak, that throws off a rhythm of an offense, and he's been getting better and better every single year. I mean, we took him as a P-Squad guy off of New Orleans when Stephon Tuitt retired, and he was kind of a rotational guy that we trying to throw in there because we're trying to figure out whether Isaiah Buggs was going to be the guy who was going to step up and play. And as we see the dust settle, Montravius Adams is still here.
Get a look at George Pickens there momentarily. Yesterday, 7 shots, 5-2 for the defense.
Yeah.
But the 2 touchdowns, Justin Fields to George Pickens on a pocket pass, and then Justin Fields on a boot right to George Pickens. The day before, Friday Night Lights, Pickens had 3 touchdowns, if you count that fade on which Joey Porter Jr. got called for pass interference. And, by the way, Mike Tomlin counted it. So, 5 touchdowns in the last 2 7 shots for George Pickens. He hooked up with Russell Wilson in 7-on-7 yesterday. This guy is everywhere catching everything.
I mean, Circus George. He has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. We're going to have to start calling him Magical George because he's a magician when it comes to scoring these touchdowns, whether it's on Patrick Queen on a crossing route right at the goal post, like you said, the corner fade routes, a little shallow stop route right on the goal line. Remember that one from Friday Night Lights where he got the ball just across and they tackled him forward. I mean, he just finds a way.
KZ, I think, was arguing it wasn't a touchdown, but there were officials, and the
officials said it.
Yeah.
They got to trust the zebras.
They're never wrong.
They're never wrong. They're always right when it's in our favor. But yeah, I mean, he's just found a way in a knack because he's such a physical presence, right? Tall, lanky, athletic. He could find a way, whether he has to stretch or whether he has to use literally his body and kind of block guys out almost like a power forward into the red zone to make sure that he gets himself available so the quarterback can get him the ball. He's been doing a fantastic job and having a great camp.
They used him a little bit on the slant stuff last year, the most memorable one being Mason Rudolph's first pass against the Bengals that went all the way. But, I haven't charted this, Max, but my recollection is telling me that Pickens is ending up in a lot more spots on the field. He's running a wider variety of routes than he did a year ago.
You mean the middle of the field is actually available?
It seems
is that what
to
you're
be.
telling me? It's not just between the
40
and the sideline?
Thing,
the numbers in the sidelines, that's the only place I thought that's the only place he could run. He wasn't allowed anywhere else on the field. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, but no, you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the things
seems to be, these crossers have
they might actually work.
Yeah.
They might actually work. They might actually confuse the defense for once when they actually go from one side to the other. They don't have to stay in one lane as like a track event, like a 200-meter. Stay in your lane. No. It's been very good to see, and they've deployed him in such a multitude of ways that you get excited because he's creating a mismatch here. And Arthur Smith's trying to get him in those positions where he gets like a linebacker in the red zone area, and you get that one mismatch or a safety that's a little bit shorter, and you don't get the number one corner because they're playing zone coverage. Like all these things Arthur Smith is testing and trying out, and it's been very successful. I think everything that he's put out there, George Pickens has seemingly mastered all of those opportunities.
Yeah. Full disclosure here, at this time last year, and a little bit later in this process last year, when the first team offense had 5 possessions in the 3 preseason games and scored 5 touchdowns, I thought it was humming, and I thought it was going to be really good.
Yeah.
Okay? Didn't work out that way. But that said, and by the way, I was reminded of that today by one of the fine Pennsylvania State police troopers who I spoke to a year ago, and he asked me how I could have been so wrong. But, it happens. That said, at this time, Max, I'm looking at Pat Freiermuth, I'm looking at Najee Harris, and I'm looking at George Pickens, and I see 3 arrows that are pointing up. And when I say up, I mean up.
Well, and I think also, it's a departure from just the skills because this has been done in a lot of different ways. It hasn't been just, we're spraying the ball out, throwing it left and right, and a lot of lateral movement, not as necessarily getting north and south, except for big plays that have no yak. Like that was kind of how we saw it. It was boom or bust with this offense a year ago, and it was great when everything was vanilla in the preseason. But what happens when you get into a season? Teams start game planning you, scheming, playing to your weaknesses. And right now, what we're seeing out there on the course that's different this year with Arthur Smith is
options.
He's trying a lot of different options, and he's creating a lot of confusion, which is going to help our defense when it gets into season because they're not going to be surprised by anything. But for our offense, we become less predictable. So we don't have to hear on the post-game show this season, they're so predictable. I saw that formation coming 5 plays ago. You're not going to get that this year. You're going to get a lot more anonymity. Well, I'm making a bold statement. I guess I'm making a bold statement. Your job on the post-game show.
Yeah, I'm actually doing that this year.
Yeah, you're doing that with Charlie. You will not get as many calls. How about that? As many. It won't be an overlying theme for the entire show.
Did you notice Beanie Bishop showing up again yesterday?
Beanie Bishop consistently showing up. I think that's where it's like.
But spectacularly with the interception of the screen and the pick six.
But it's like I kind of now am growing to a point, I don't know if this is good or bad, I'm expecting him to be in those positions. I'm expecting him to make a play of practice that he stands and jumps off the sheet, jumps off the tape, and it's becoming a norm. When we talk about stacking days at training camp, putting a good performance followed by another good performance and continually getting better to where you can't help but be noticed, to now I'm looking for you in the defensive lineup, I think he's been doing a spectacular job of that since day one. Challenge issued with we need a nickel slot corner, challenge accepted by Beanie Bishop. Obviously, Graylin Arnold also doing a great job in that nickel corner position
Although
as well.
He was out yesterday. I don't know if he's practicing today or not. But
but Friday Night Lights, he had a heck of a night.
Yeah,
he had a heck of a night. Had a big pick on Friday Night Lights. So yeah, hopefully we'll monitor that. He'll be ready by Friday at least. But yeah, it's been just great to watch these young guys compete, especially when there's an open need and an open place for you early to contribute to the team, and they've taken those challenges. Nobody shied away from it. Nobody's tried to make excuses. They've played great ball.
They did a little punting and place kicking as well yesterday, and it has continued to amuse me that number 18's back there fielding punts.
I mean, the more you can do, right? I mean, yes, you're a quarterback on the play sheet, John Rice Plumlee, but also you are a very fast, very agile, very deceptively running type of quarterback. I had him at Ole Miss. I watched him at
1,000-yard rusher there, right?
Yeah, 1,000-yard rusher under Lane Kiffin, then leaves, goes to UCF, and continues on his same ways. So there's a versatility in him. And you always need that emergency quarterback, right? Somebody that's going to be on the roster. And if you can make your hay by having another role in special teams, it only makes you that much more valuable. You know, Mike Tomlin had a saying when he first came in so many years ago, and he had a shirt, the more you can do, right? Remember, we heard that tagline for forever, the first 6-7 years that Mike Tomlin was a head coach, and now we're still seeing that mantra carry over 18 years later, essentially, and you see guys still coming in with their multifaceted athletes.
Throws a decent ball, too.
Yeah, he does. He does, and he has some good escapability. He has great acceleration. I mean, you know, I'm not saying he's Justin Fields, but he does a good imitation of one, and he does have good vision down the field. When he's on target and he gets the assignment and he makes his read quick, he can deliver the ball effectively.
Yeah, you know, I'm not saying he's Justin Fields either, but I think the way they've lined up this quarterback room, they're somewhat interchangeable. I mean,
more athleticism.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Russell Wilson's going to escape to buy time.
Yes.
Justin Fields is going to escape and maybe take it to the house. Kyle Allen has a track record in the league of being a mobile quarterback, and now you have Plumlee. I mean, they're all play-action boot capable. You wouldn't have to change much if you end up going down the depth chart. Not, you know, that would never happen, right? You'd never end up with your third quarterback.
Never.
Playing the most important games of the season.
No, you would never create a rule in the NFL where the emergency third quarterback has to be dressed, you know, but yet inactive unless pressed into service. We would never do that in the NFL, have three active quarterbacks at one time. Hello, Brock Purdy, playoff game, putting a concussed guy back in the game. I'm not going to talk about that in NFL, but we have that now. And so if you could have a Kyle Allen or you can have an interchangeable guy in John Rice Plumlee who could be up and down, possibly active with a different role, it just creates more options for you for not if, but when adversity hits.
Do you have the offense, the backs 2 and the backers 0 in the 2 backs on backer drills?
Yes, absolutely. The backers need to step their game up. And Jaylen Warren has been a big exclamation point. Darnell Washington has been another big exclamation point for the backers. And then Najee's come on. Najee was okay day 1, but he came alive in day 2. And I think that kind of helped elevate the game. But the two biggest exclamation points for the backside has been Darnell Washington, number 80 and number 30, and they've been given 110%. If you see what I did there, 80 plus 30.
110.
There we go. See? Boom. We can do math on this show. It's okay.
I've also got the offense. Let's not.
Yeah.
I've also got the offense leading the defense 29-27.
You said there was no math. You're giving
well, that's
more
a
numbers.
statistic. You don't have to add them up. It's just who's winning.
But you've added them up
it's like
to get to that number.
Well, I did. Point that we are
we're
laboring
getting
to get to here is that the offense is showing up here. The offense is having its moments. The offense has an agenda, and the offense is working toward that. Pat Freiermuth talked about some of that stuff yesterday.
Yeah, that's the most energetic I've seen. It was great competition. It's gonna, iron sharpens iron, and that was the definition of it. And yeah, it was awesome.
What's gotten into you guys?
We're trying to compete. We're trying to get to that next step, and we're trying to do whatever we can to get success in the playoffs. So, as long as we're getting each other better out here, keeping each other healthy and safe and upright, and we're going to continue to work and get as best as we can going into week one.
What has specifically gotten into 30 and 22?
Man, they're energized. They're they're competing. They're doing really well in this new offense, and I'm excited to see how they play off each other this year.
The defense is supposed to win that drill.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of rigged for them.
Yeah.
You guys are 2 for 2 collectively, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're doing a great job. Obviously, some drills are slanted in our favor, some slanted in the defensive favor, and that's one of them that's slanted in the defensive favor. And we smile in the face of it, like Coach T says, and we compete.
Have you been practicing this offense enough where you can see in the regular season you're going to get 1 million targets and 1 million catches? And
hopefully that's the plan. But yeah, no, man, it's been great, and got to continue to work, stay healthy, and continue to work with the quarterbacks, build that chemistry, and excited for the future.
Okay, 1 million targets and 1 million catches is probably overstating it, but would you agree, Max? They're going to throw him the ball a lot, and he's going to have numbers this year. Pat Freiermuth.
I would completely agree with that assessment. He's gotten a lot of work, and we talked about in the opening of this show, using multiple tight end sets. He's been in there for the multiple tight end sets. He's even been in there for the big 11 sets, which is a bigger 3 wide receiver personnel, and he's been detached from the line. He's been in the 12. He's been in the 5 wides where they spread it all out, and he's been a guy that's played the ISO side as well as playing to the twins, and even running a bunch set where they got 3 wide receivers. He's running at the point of the bunch and 2 wide receivers behind him. They've deployed him in a lot of different ways to, like we said, get a mismatch, get a favorable matchup. Maybe you end up with Pat Freiermuth on a cornerback that's 5'10", and he's 6'5" with a great catch radius. All those things are playing into how you can be utilized, how he can be deployed on game day. So I expect to see an uptick from last year in his performance, in his catches. I think also he'll be very deadly in the red zone with this offense.
They were actually doing some red zone work, and the fans yesterday were cheering for the defense. And Freiermuth turned around. Oh, hell no. He's yelling at the fans to cheer for the offense. He's pretty locked in. We mentioned at the top of the show, goal line drill coming up today at the end of practice. We shall close it here. What are you most interested in seeing in that upcoming goal line drill?
Physicality, and not a fear of running away from the foot. I don't want to see outside zones. I don't want to see the corner fade out of spread. I would love to see it if you're going to line up in a jumbo package, right? Send the 3 tight ends in there, squeeze them down, and then you know what? Run it one time really good, see how that linebacker plays up, and then now dump it over the top in a fade route, but send like a counter action into it so that you get the bodies going up to the line of scrimmage. I want to see a physical nature in these 7 shots, and I think Arthur Smith's going to give us that. I don't think he's going to give us any spread. I think he'll give the look of spread and then bring it back in. That's what I'm expecting to see.
I'm going to be focused on number 45 in white, Jack Coletto, the fullback.
Oh, yeah. See how he does
the
hammer.
He has gotten periodic reps with the ones.
Yes.
Not all the time, but enough that you notice it. Now, it didn't happen yesterday, but they weren't in pads yesterday, and perhaps what they were working on did not lead itself to the fullback being involved. But Coletto is playing enough that it looks like they want to use the fullback a significant amount of time, let's say. Arthur Smith has said he likes having a fullback as an option, but he understands the guy's got to be able to play special teams and do other things because he can't just be a fullback. I think today's a pretty big day for Jack Coletto.
It's a big day to really make a statement, right? If you're going to get a limited number of plays, make sure you're effective in the limited amount that you get. I think that's the best motto for Jack Coletto. Go ahead, go in there, hit somebody, stuff a linebacker in the hole, create a hole for your running back to run behind. Najee Harris loves running behind a fullback. He did it at Alabama. That's what made him get drafted here. We took that away from him, and we've seen the slow starts at him adapt. Why not just give him what he wants from the get-go, and let's see if we can get Najee off to a fast start.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a new appreciation for that I formation, man.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, listen, you got to dot the I, and I'm not talking about that school marching thing.
No,
I'm talking about dotting the I in an I formation and making it a hammer and not a nail.
That's going to do it for us. Don't forget, we've got training camp wrap-up coming up right here on Steelers.com and the Steelers digital and social media platforms. That'll be with Missy and our buddy Craig Wolfley, so stick around for that, or tune in for that, I should say, after practice. Until then, for Max Starks, I'm Mike Pursuta. This has been Training Camp Live, presented by FedEx.